What's up guys, welcome back to my channel for another episode of On the Shelf, a show where I experiment with different posing and display options for my collection in the hopes of giving you some ideas for your own displays. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around because today we're gonna take a closer look at some treasures which up until now I haven't really filmed that much content with. My Dark Knight Nolanverse collection, which so far features the Hot Toys Batman Begins 2.0 figure modded with OT Customs Cowl and Drape cape, then the Hot Toys DX19 Dark Knight figure modded also with the OT Customs Cowl and Drape cape, and then the InArt Joker Rooted Hair Deluxe 2-pack. But before we get started, if you like my content, do us a favor would ya, hit that like button, notification bell and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get to it. Okay guys, from here on out, I'm gonna spend some time with each figure so I can admire these well-crafted characters and appreciate the artistry of these figures, including the custom work by OT Customs. Starting with the Batman Begins 2.0, I decided to take a look at him with the First Night Out look first, as I'll probably never put him in this pose again after this, to be fair. It's okay, but this display option is nowhere near as strong as him with the cowl and cape. For this, I have him on top of the 1/4 scale Dark Knight diorama base, and to be noted for the following displays, I'll be using it as well because I think it actually works better with 1/6 scale figures. Zooming in on this younger looking head sculpt, I think it's actually a nice looking portrait for a younger Bruce Wayne, and can look good under the right lighting and viewing angle. But for this figure, I think when you have a custom cowl opposed to the stock one from Hot Toys, this suit looks much better in the full Batman getup opposed to the First Night Out look. I did consider kit bashing a suited up Bruce Wayne using this head sculpt, and I may still do it, but we'll see. Now let's take a look at this beast with the custom cowl and custom cape on, using the other side of the base featuring the villains, Ra's al Ghul, the Joker and Bane from the trilogy. Heads up, throughout a lot of these shots I'm also experimenting with different lighting on the figures, and for some shots like this one I'm using smoke effects with the lens distortion app on my iPhone 13 Pro Max to create a scene, create a vibe, a moment worthy in which to view the character and bring the figure to life. It's something I really enjoy doing when shooting 6scale figures. Let me know if that's something you enjoy doing too. Now, while I like the look of the drape cape hanging over the figure for that brooding look, especially standing atop the base like this, at the moment I prefer the cape pulled back, draping behind him so we can see the full design of the suit. There's just something about this look, I absolutely love it, and with the much more accurate cowl and cape, this figure now commands the respect he deserves. Batman Begins came out in 2005 when I was a young, brooding 22-year-old, and it blew me away. Being a bit of a film buff, I had already seen Memento and was eager to see Christopher Nolan's take on my beloved character. Batman Begins didn't disappoint. Talk about lasting power. Even still to this day, this film and trilogy as a whole for me stands tall amongst the competition. Batman Begins is a proper film, not afraid to take its time to world build. I was all in watching Bruce go through it all to become Batman. The tone, the vibe, the music, the casting, and most importantly the story, all woven together in an iconic origin story. Before I forget to, shout out to Dean Knight for reviewing this sculpt by OT Customs on his channel first, which is what inspired me to check out OT in the first place. Go sub to Dean's channel and show him some love, a true OG in the game. Thank you, Dean. Now let's zoom in on this custom sculpt for a closer look at all the details here as I experiment with moving the light source around to showcase the difference lighting can have on a sculpt. But honestly, I think this sculpt by OT is phenomenal. Literally makes this a top 5 figure in the collection. Let's take a look at the Hot Toys cowl next to the OT Customs cowl, with the latter being on the body for a bit of a comparison. I also want to state I'm doing this so you can see the difference between the two and the reason why I chose to purchase a custom piece for the figure opposed to sticking with how it comes stock. I paid in full for this and ordered like anyone else would through OT Customs site, and waited quite a few months for my batch, so these are my honest opinions. So whether you care for that or not, just look at the two together and decide for yourself, which do you think looks better. For me, it's pretty clear. Moving on to the Hot Toys DX19 Dark Knight, also with an OT Customs cowl and drape cape, standing as he is in the collection on his base with some batarangs and bombs scattered on the steps to get some use out of him. I actually don't have any issues with this base either. I quite like how he looks on it. Then here he is on top of the 1/4 scale base, which does look awesome. I'm really loving how these 1/6 scale figures look on top of this base. It makes them seem so much more grand, I feel. What do you guys think? I feel they look more statuesque when the base is considerably larger than the figure, like they're standing on top of a building or something. Now, here he is with another custom cape I have, but this one from Jackson Jew that I bought back in the day when I had the DX02. The velvet on this cape is really well done and it holds a pose really well. In hindsight, I could have done a much better job posing it for this shot, but trust me, it really does pose well and can be used to create and enhance more dynamic poses or just emulate a gust of wind catching it as Batman looks down on the city, the watchful protector that he is. I also really like this suit. It's very different, more tactile and efficient. More real world compared to the Batman Begins, which is more animalistic, imposing and scary. But this is cool, and I love the realism of the film, so this made sense going off the specs Bruce requested so he could be more agile in combat. The Dark Knight being one of the best comic book character movies of all time, and The Dark Knight Rises being a satisfying conclusion, this suit is a must in the collection, so much so that I also have it in 1/4 scale. Okay, let's zoom in now and take a closer look at the OT Customs cowl with posable eyes and thicker neck peg for this guy. I got the version with 3 different faceplates, so I'll play with the lighting for each one so you can see how they all look close up. This one here being the more neutral look, which I think has a great resemblance to Christian Bale. Giving you some other angles here too so you can see the paintwork and the shape of this more screen accurate cowl. It's just on point, and whilst that's great, I will say a big difference maker when looking at the figure as a whole is I feel the thicker neck peg. That's what works. The Hot Toys stock neck is too thin, I feel. The thicker look is more real and makes him look more lifelike than the skinny neck does. Moving on to the second faceplate now, which is the partially open mouth sculpt, as if he's in the middle of conversing or something, which I also rate quite high. Especially here close up, I really like it. Not sure if I'd use it much other than for some posing or photography, I reckon. And lastly, the brooding faceplate. This one is a banger, especially in hand or on the shelf underneath the lights. He looks great and a lot more imposing with it. I gotta say, I'm thoroughly impressed with the quality of work by OT Customs on all these sculpts. Great work, mate. Thank you for your efforts for the community. Okay guys, let's take a look at the InArt Joker Rooted Hair Deluxe 2-pack. I've actually had these guys for ages as I pre-ordered them day one. I just haven't got around to making any content with them until now. But as mentioned earlier, The Dark Knight is one of the greatest comic book movies and sequels ever in my book, largely in part to the performance of fellow Aussie Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker, my favourite iteration of the character to date. And these two figures and package as a whole are fantastic, and I feel very blessed to have them in the collection. Let's take a look at the jail cell Joker first, this being the only pose I've done with him to date. It's a play on the moment when he starts clapping to celebrate Gordon being told he's the new commissioner after being caught. It's quick, but I just love that moment and how crazy this guy is. You've probably seen it used as a meme fairly regularly as well. This is my interpretation of that with this piece. The figure itself moves really well, not bothered by the material, which itself is also very posable, so no issues there. The thing is, I don't see me trying to do anything crazy with this guy anyway. For me, it's more about trying to capture Heath's essence in the pose. His performance in this film is phenomenal. He was menacing, conniving, crazy, and formidable. There's a reason why, even to this day, so many companies are still pumping out collectibles, whether it be figures or statues of this guy. Zooming in a bit closer, you'll see I have his eyes posed looking up as I have his head tilted down. And as you see the light moving around his face, you'll catch glimpses of him for real. I'm really impressed with InArt's craftsmanship on this guy. Moving on to the purple coat Joker on his magnetic base. For decoration, I've added the money and Joker cards chaotically laid out at his feet. No issues yet for me either with balance. In his right hand, I have the die-cast pistol, which is such an awesome piece. And in his left hand, I have him holding the Joker card, which are all fun accessories to have to incorporate in the display. Now, for the pose, I decided to be super simple, being my first one with him. I've seen so many other people do all the common poses with him, I didn't find the need to go crazy trying to do them just yet. I like the simple look. In fact, all these figures don't really require crazy posing, their presence alone is enough for me. Eventually I'll attempt the grenade pose or the hit me pose just to see how realistic I can get them to look and maybe do some photography with them and keep the display fresh. But honestly, when I look at all these guys in the collection, a simple posing of the eyes or a tilt of the head is enough to evoke everything awesome about this portrayal and film. Now, let's take a closer look at the sculpt. Again, I've tilted his head down and posed the eyes looking up for that more menacing look. The good thing about this look as well is this will work great with the hit me pose, holding the machine gun too. Trust me, getting the eyes posed makes a world of difference. Even though it's kinda scary with the hair to open up on this head, it's definitely worth it. And that's it guys and girls, I hope you've enjoyed this video and maybe got some inspiration for your own displays. The Dark Knight trilogy will forever be a classic and building up my collection from that line is definitely a focus for me moving forward. I thank you all for tuning in, and if you haven't already done so, do us a favor would you, hit that like button, notification bell and subscribe to the channel. I have a lot more content coming, so stay tuned by following me on Facebook and Instagram under Iron Logan. But for now, until next time, I'm out.